Αυτό δεν έχει ξαναγίνει. Ξεκινάμε. Super. So, guys, we will be talking today about the intersection of entrepreneurship, innovation, and sustainability. I think three things that are super interesting and super relevant for our time and for the people watching us today here, also on live streaming. And we are all, I think, from very diverse backgrounds, very different industries. So we will talk a little bit about shoes, about buildings, and about homes and apartments. Let's start by taking a few minutes to briefly introduce ourselves, what our companies do, what stage we're at right now. You want to go first? Okay.
Since you started.
Okay. So I am Antonios Fiorakis. I'm the CEO of Protio. Protio is the first platform for investment properties in Greece. We help rebuild our cities one apartment at a time. We have identified a very big problem, which is the housing crisis and the environmental crisis caused by the very old building stock that our cities have. And we're currently 14 people. We have the backing of some venture capital funds and investors, angel investors from Greece and abroad. We have raised 2 million euros. And we're going after a very big mission. My background is in entrepreneurship. Protio is my second startup. My first startup was also a platform called Incrediblue, which we had started in Greece and which got acquired a few years ago. Yeah, that's it from me. You go.
We have it, yes, here. I'm Angelos Stavrakis. I'm the founder and CEO of SafeSize, and we're essentially matching people with shoes that fit. Digital Albandis, for those who remember Albandi. We're helping footwear retailers and shoe brands around the world sell shoes in a better way, in a faster, data-driven, personalized, memorable way, in physical stores and online. We are a team spread across the Netherlands, where we started the company, Athens, Slovenia, Shanghai, and Sydney. We have customers around 50 countries, more than 2,000 physical retailers, largest sports, fashion, and kids retailers around the world. We are the leader in this virtual fit market. We've raised more than 30 million euros, latest round 14 million euros a month ago. Yeah, we have an ambition to change the way, to transform the way shoes are produced, sold, and discarded around the world. So very happy to be here. And congrats, Andoni, for the self-moderation abilities.
Okay, so I'm Panos Riniotis. I'm the CEO, founder, and of Billis. It's a building management platform for multi-tenant buildings. We help the tenants and the managers of the building to better manage their financials and operations, and also the governance of the building. We started 1.5 years ago. We raised our pre-seed round last year, in the end of last year. We have some very good Greek real estate investors like Lambda Development and like Genesis, some angel investors as well. We are in the growth stage right now. We launched in October, and we want to increase our customer base and make the tenants in the buildings happier, because there is a lot of pain in the buildings and how they manage their payments, their banking, their operation, their governance. So pretty much that's it.
Thank you, Panos. I have another question. I'll start with you, since you have the other microphone. So, let's start by talking about one of the first things, which is entrepreneurship. And I would like to hear not a very short, but not a very too long version of how, like your personal story. How did you end up becoming an entrepreneur? What's your story behind becoming an entrepreneur?
Okay, so I have it runs in the family, actually. So it's something that I inherited from my parents. They were entrepreneurs themselves. My father taught me to sell, that's not a very good point, but he told me to sell toys to my friends at school. So I was always looking to monetize and trade and become entrepreneur at some point. So I started programming and management. It was a very good combination. And then I always wanted to do my own startup and help people with technology. So I started as a consultant, then I joined my family business, and at some point I said, okay, let's do the technology thing I always wanted. So here we are now, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's an amazing journey. I hope everyone to get at that point and at least see either as an employee or as an entrepreneur the startup and the beginning of a new venture. It's an amazing, amazing journey.
Thank you. And you, Angelos?
I think for me it took a while. From my first startup to my third, it was around 20 years in between, or whatever, 15 years in between. I spent 10 years in the corporate world, did a bit of consulting with Boston Consulting Group in Italy, and then joined retail. And this is where I realized the problem that we're trying to solve now with SafeSize. I realized it exists while spending time in a corporate environment. And for me, I realized, I think an entrepreneur is a problem solver, right? You see a problem and you try to find a better solution. And the satisfaction that you get if you manage to create a solution to a problem and you see this adopted by others is unique. So I think I stumbled in entrepreneurship after the corporate world. And it's like I don't remember what was the color of the pill in Matrix, or the blue or the red. Yeah, there's no turning back. Once you become an entrepreneur, it's really, really difficult to go back.
Thank you. Inspiring. It's exactly that. If you have a passion about problem solving, it becomes very addictive. So, similar background myself. I started my first business as a kid, selling CDs. I was copying video games and selling them to my friends at school. I always kind of wanted to become an entrepreneur. Also, coming from a very entrepreneurial family that has failed a lot of times, lost quite a bit of money. So it was kind of okay for me growing up, with failure. Failure was something that was okay to happen. And I think my first idea that I really tried to do was a venture about digital signage, which is like connected screens that you sell advertising space on. Which, thank God, we didn't move into that because it was an industry that never picked up. And somehow, I think after 6-7 years, my first company took place. So it was a big leap of faith. But I think you get to feel it, when you really know that it's the right idea. You get to feel that, and then you can take that leap of faith. Good.
You get to have the right team. It's very important.
Yes. Or the wrong team, which
the wrong team is a good lesson.
Yeah. Great. So now, talking about lessons and talking about doing things wrong, as you know very well, both of you, myself included, entrepreneurship comes with a lot of challenges. It's a roller coaster ride. Can you pick out of? I know you have gone through many challenges. Can you pick one of the challenges that trouble you the most? And tell us a little bit about your experience with it and how you overcome it. What was your experience overcoming it? And
Pano, you want to start or?
Okay, I will start. Okay, so I think one of the most challenging things of an entrepreneur to accomplish is hiring. Actually, like hiring for good talent, not even hiring sometimes, just partnering with other people. Co-founders, finding people that will believe in you, in the project, that you communicate effectively. I think it's one of the most challenging things in entrepreneurship, actually. Like everything else, it has to do a lot with people. And then as sales is also another challenge. But when you have to cooperate so closely with someone, you have to be very, very picky, very good at distinguishing the values of the person, if you can cooperate with the person, and also sometimes it's very hard to find that person. Like not only to to judge if they're a good fit or not. So this is one of the biggest challenges I ever had with my startup so far. I'm lucky to have an amazing team of 12 people, and once you start and recruiting and onboarding and partnering with amazing people, more people like this are coming. So it's like a snowball effect. You have to start well or start bad and then get a good lesson and then, you know, come again and find the right fit. But I think it's super important and very difficult.
Yeah, I think my story is quite similar, but I don't want us to disregard always the runway challenge that exists with all startups. And I was at a talk recently, and there was a discussion, and one of the guys sold his company, successful startup, actually said, yeah, for 10 years I was never sleeping well, and I thought I was a bad sleeper. And then we sold the company, and I was sleeping like a baby, and I realized that I don't have the payroll anymore, right? So that's always a challenge when you start your own business and you want to grow. But I think I agree with Panos, you know, finding the right people. One of the challenges we had in the process, we acquired a company, a smaller company, and from a company they had to become a department within our business. And it was a different country, a completely different mentality, different culture, great people, strong family bonds between the team, but always a post-merger integration, you know, getting a new team and try to integrate and follow the same vision. It's always challenging. And for us, we're 18 nationalities, 40% women in 5 locations. You know, it's the hiring challenge. I fully agree with you, but there's also a challenge to, you know, in an ongoing way, be able to motivate and have people follow the vision, especially when you reach a level where you don't have a one-to-one relationship with everybody in the company.
It sounds extremely difficult to build a cohesive culture with so many different nationalities in so many different locations in a remote first world. Can I ask how do you go about that? What's your side question?
I think you mentioned it before, by failing a lot and making a lot of mistakes. It's not easy. For us, we are a people-first company. So, you know, some companies focus on profitability or shareholders or customers or product first. We focus on people first. Even though we always try to have at the forefront of everything we do our team members, our people, you always make mistakes, right? The perspective from which everybody sees the reality that they're in can be quite challenging. And yeah, there's no magic wand. For me, what works is to really show true interest in creating a cohesive culture and be genuinely interested in the challenges of your team members.
Thank you. Thank you. Inspiring.
And you, Donny?
For me, I would say the managing, getting to feel okay with no, like, because I have gone through at least like 5. I mean, one of the most important things in building a venture-funded startup is raising funding. So I've been like through more than 5 funding rounds myself, having pitched my idea, my baby, to more than, you know, probably 200 different funds. And out of, you know, when you speak to 100 funds, probably one of them will say that he actually really likes the idea so much that he will invest. But 99 will say that, you know, give you a variety of reasons why it's not a great idea. And that's very painful. So I think one of the big lessons when I was getting started was, and challenges like how to have such a big self-esteem, which is much bigger than me, that even when you hear 99 no's, it's still, you can still, you know, manage. I can still manage my own psychology. So, as a friend once told me, building a company traumatizes you. So you need to kind of like, you know, do a little bit of therapy with yourself to feel better. That's one thing, and I think after a while, the problem that was created for me and that I had to overcome afterwards was that when you really you have to believe in your idea so much that sometimes even when you see that something is not working, like you think that you have product market fit, as they say, but you don't really have product market fit, you can be a little bit confused and as they say, drink your own Kool-Aid. That you need to be able to have clarity and identify what's actually working, what's not working, in order to get to product market fit. So I think that's a big difference for me personally from my first company to my second company.
We have a term internally at SafeSize, and we call it the zombie mentality, right? That every time you fall down, you stand up and then you continue. And everybody who has to fight a zombie, right? You can never win. So if you have this zombie mentality, but I agree with you. It's always challenging to see. So to identify, should I continue or should I pivot? And I think this is the challenge of a successful entrepreneur. So. And
when you pivot, usually you have to pivot hard, and you have to let go of everything that you have built. And sometimes people don't do that; they do it a little bit halfway. So it's a big decision. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next part of the discussion, which is innovation. So I think we are all in very, very traditional industries with very traditional user experiences so far. So you are in the shoes business. You are in the building management business. I am in the real estate or home or living business. How do you guys go about innovating your industry? Usually it's very archaic. So how do you go about innovating in that and overcoming the challenges that come with it? You want to go, Panos?
Okay, so yeah, we operate in a very, very traditional industry, and I think that statement can be said by many people, but it's very difficult when you have to do, especially in our case, with many decision makers, because it's the reason that it doesn't allow them to innovate, to embrace new things, to get new technologies in their system. So how we try to innovate in this industry? I mean, we've built technology that is very user-friendly. I think building something very simple for at least for everyone to understand is very challenging. You can build something very complicated that no one will understand, and that's easier. Like when you want to, when you address your product to old people that don't understand technology and don't be. I'm not saying for a bad thing. You have to innovate more, like be more understandable, build something more easy to understand. It's super complicated to do this. The user experience is very crucial. When you have to do with, our customers are not professionals. They're tenants, okay? Everyone is a tenant here, somewhere. They're not sophisticated in many ways. So you have to address these people, and it's very difficult to do so, especially when you do something that doesn't exist. We do something that doesn't exist so far. We're chasing a business model. So it's an innovation to build something simple. That's what I would say. And even if the problem is huge, still very challenging to manage to solve this. Like there is clear advantages of what you're doing, but you have to show it to the people and explain them and make something that's very like vanilla to use. I think that's how we innovate.
From our side, okay, so we have a very archaic industry ourselves. So we are in the business of helping homeowners, people who own an apartment, to understand what is the right price of their property, and we have to manage a lot of things at the same time. One is help them explain it in a very simple way, explain them why and why our data and our solution is correct, and then convince them to work with us. So this is extremely challenging. And on the other side, we have to innovate with people who want to invest in rental properties. And I think there we're doing a very good job, because we are the only ones offering an A to Z solution, where if somebody goes if somebody wants to invest in a rental property today, the DIY way of doing it is very, very lengthy, very, very full of friction, and it will take them a lot of their own personal time to be able to carry out the full investment. So to find the right investment property, to make an offer at the right price, to close the deal, then renovate the property, then find the tenant, manage it, and go through this entire process, which will probably take them 12 months. We make it digital first, and we simplify it in an oversimplified way. So I think, again, as Panos said, I think the biggest part of our innovation is just creating a unified user experience that someone can have with a trusted brand that they get to speak to instead of speaking to different providers. So I think just by doing this, it's a very core part of the innovation. Then, of course, we wouldn't be able to do that unless we were building a tech company. So all of this is based on our tech platform, on our algorithms, on all the effort that we're doing with integrations and automations in order to be able to provide that experience. And I think this is a core part of how we can start by innovating in pretty much any industry that is archaic, even if this is real estate or if it's buildings or if it's something more traditional like agriculture. It's a good start. How about shoes?
Shoes. The way we were selling shoes has not changed for 100 years. I think it's very much the same. And for me, it was flabbergasting to see everybody's fighting in the online world for eyeballs, and to customer acquisition cost is increasing. It's very difficult. And then you have 75% of sales of footwear happening in physical stores, and consumers enter physical stores invisible and anonymous, and they exit invisible and anonymous, which is crazy. It's a lost opportunity. Millions of consumers come in, and it's rarely a memorable experience to buy shoes, right? You go in, you're looking for your shoe, you're looking for a sales assistant to help you out, even in physical stores. So we thought, we started from physical stores, even though it was the non-obvious, right? The initial idea was online shopping is difficult. Let's create a solution so that people can buy easier online. But what we realized is shopping in physical stores is actually difficult as well, and even more so. And what we thought is, okay, let's use data. Let's start measuring. So we started measuring people with 3D foot scanners and creating digital profiles so that people can actually buy shoes using personal measurements and algorithms that adapt to their needs. And then once we did that, then we thought, okay, we're home free. We realized there's no shoe data out there. Nobody has any shoe data. Nobody has any idea where we can actually find shoe data. So there we had to develop a technology that actually scans the 3D inner dimensions for every shoe, every model, every size out there. And once we did that, which was great, we realized nobody was willing to give us any shoes to scan. So, in the end, innovation has to do with the technology that you develop, but also with business model innovation, but also operational innovation on the way you approach a market. So there were several learning stages for us to move from the initial idea, let's scan feet and get data-driven recommendation online, where we realized that there's a lot more possibilities in store, new technologies and business model innovation that we need to achieve. I'm not sure if it answers the question, but
I think very well, and I'm going to capitalize on your very nice answer. And since you mentioned business model innovation, I'm going off script now, guys. Sorry about that.
Yes, we have a script. We have a script, guys.
I love innovation in pricing, and just very very briefly on that. I mentioned before, I really like how you have gone about pricing, and like Panos, like also how are you going about pricing? I think pricing is becoming a very interesting business driver. What's your thinking about that? How do you guys go about it?
Well, we try to manage between consumers paying nothing, so getting the benefit. So we should think consumers should get maximum benefit. Then our customers should pay as they get the benefit. And we should also create a recurring revenue that that fuels the business and lets us do all the cool things that we want to do and hire people. So I think finding the right balance, it's not easy. I loved, by the way, the example Panos shared right before we entered the stage, right? On the payment of the, how do you call kinokrista in English? Maybe you can share. I think it's a very interesting example.
And now you got me off guard.
Yeah, you had to pay somebody, in the traditional way, right? You had to go there on a Sunday and give cash.
This is my pitch, actually. Like when I pitch to someone, I'm telling them, like, hey, this is how I got the idea. I had to go every Sunday, like the first Sunday of every month, to my building manager, pay him cash, get money from the bank, make change to give him exactly the amount that he wanted. So it was a mess. Like the payment of this, like the experience was terrible, and I never carried cash anywhere. So it was a very, very bad experience.
This is a great example of how you change a pricing model or how you ensure payment is done to create a new service that is very, very easy. And after you think about it, it's actually very obvious. But before that, there was nobody doing it.
Yes, indeed, you have to feel the pain. And talking about pain, I think one of the things, and I'm moving on to the next part of our discussion, which is about sustainability. I think I'm very glad that the whole venture capital world and investor world has finally realized how painful it has been for the earth, for the human race, and for a lot of us, when investments were done in a way that was disruptive and bad for the environment and for society. And now there seems to be a very big focus on sustainability, on ESG, on the environment, on society, and on governance and transparency. And my question here is, we are seeing that there is now, I think it's a very positive way that businesses and investments have to be associated with a positive impact on all of those things. And I was wondering, does this apply in your industry? Is sustainability, ESG, part of your industry? And does it apply? And if yes, how?
Well, for us, it was one of the initial premises that we based our entire business model on. So when you take fashion industry, footwear and apparel, second dirtiest industry out there. Humanity should not be proud in the way we produce shoes today. And that's why we try to change how shoes are produced, sold, and discarded. And we do this through technology and through data. So what we try to do is, imagine we have more than 20 million of consumers that have been scanned and analyzed across the world in 50 countries. We know what shoes they want. We know what type of shoes that should be distributed. So we can, of course, we can reduce returns, therefore unnecessary transportation of shoes. Second, we can advise. And we are advising now brands on how to better distribute the shoes that they produce in the different geographic locations. Third, we can support the production of new footwear that is more relevant for people. So now, in order to sell 10 shoes, you produce 15 and 5 go to the landfill. Imagine a future where you can produce 12 in order to sell 10. And then a future of mass customization where with your SafeSize ID, you would be able to produce your fully custom-made footwear, made locally based on your needs. So we envision a future where you will produce less shoes, more relevant shoes, and you'll have more satisfied customers. And that covers the E part of the ESG, but there's the S part, and this has to do with our people. So we are all in a position to create the circumstances for employees and people in our companies to experience a new way of working, more flexible, a bit different than when I started working back in the day, and give the opportunity for people to really feel that they're part of something bigger than themselves in an enjoyable way, get a compensation that is truly fair, and get part of the upside potential of the success that we bring to our shareholders and to society. So definitely a very, very important part of our strategy.
Amazing. I'm very, very happy to hear. I think it's important that all companies have ESG close to their business model and heart. From our side, if I may, Panos, go. I think when I started the company, we tried a few business models. We pivoted a few times, and along those times, we identified a much bigger problem, and then also this kind of created a much bigger vision for us. And the problem we identified is that we have 250 million apartments in Europe, but we know that 85% of them are unsuitable for housing. They're too old, and they are
85?
85%. 85%. They are, more than 20 or 30 years old. They're built in the 70s, in the 80s, even in the 50s and the 60s in some countries. And the issue that this creates is that today in all of Southeastern Europe, and also in the big part of Europe, 1 out of 3 properties is vacant. And the reason that it's vacant is that it's unsuitable for housing. And this creates a massive housing shortage where 85 million Europeans are today living in poor quality homes, in homes that need a lot more energy than they should in order to be electrified and heated, and they have a massive carbon footprint that they actually shouldn't have based on the technology that we have today. So, we sat down, we went back to the drawing board, and we said, okay, this is a very big problem. How can we solve it? And there must be a way where a private company can actually come in and do something for the good of the planet or for society in a problem that is affecting millions of people just in Europe. And and for us, this is by taking these old properties, finding them, and then making them into affordable and sustainable homes that we can then rent out into new families and next generations. And I think this was like a pivotal moment for me, because I realized that we're helping an individual investor deploy his capital, 50, 100K into a property that is completely changed as part of the circular economy from something old into something new. And then it's being used by covering the housing needs of a new family. And at the same time, we're also helping the previous owner who had the property sell it to the investor. And this guy is taking those bricks and making them into equity, into money. So he's helping his own financial position. So it was a very interesting time when we put this on the drawing board, and we're like, okay, this is a very impactful.
This is a win-win-win across the board.
Exactly, yeah. So we're like, okay, this should work, and it's nice to see it work. Pano.
Okay, so for Billy's, at least, the obvious was to eliminate all the paper and the transactions that are cash, and all the gas that has to be spent to do all these transactions. But that was like a very first idea of how we could help with that problem. The most important one was the governance of the buildings. So when you help a building be organized and all the tenants inside better manage their financials, their operations, and give them the right tools to better operate the whole building and make decisions, they can do stuff. They can renovate. They can make the building more efficient. When the building and the relationship between the tenants is healthy, then they can do much more than when the things are not transparent, when they don't communicate, when they don't make decisions. So we are creating this infrastructure for them to communicate and allow them, and we can help them with that, give them options, let's switch from oil to, I don't know how it's called, adlies hermotitos. This kind of technology, let's say, heat pumps, exactly. Let's switch from gas to heat pumps. But if we cannot make the decision to do this, if we don't give you the tools, we don't give you the financing, the idea, and make it easy for you, then you will never do it. So that's why you need the infrastructure and Billies to do this. So get Billies.
So you're in the business of building friendships in buildings, right?
It's the base.
Building relationships.
Our motto is the Greek motto that says "Καλοί λογαριασμοί κάνουν καλούς φίλους." It's also in English. Good reckonings make good neighbors for us. Καλοί λογαριασμοί κάνουν τους καλούς γείτονες.
Very cool.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, guys, I think we are officially out of time, and we have gone through all the script that we had prepared. Thank you for
5 minutes before.
Thank you for being part of the panel. It was really nice to be here with you. Thanks to the crowd as well. And I look forward to the next one.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure spending time with you.